I think early on when we started fighting, my son, he was probably too young. He's a newborn to 1 year old, so I don't think he could relate. But now as he's gotten older, he's now 4, I think he knows, and it started to affect him. You know, you can see it.
And he'd get scared and he'd say, "Mommy, Daddy, stop fighting, stop fighting." And I'm like, what are we doing? What are we doing to our child? I don't want him to think this is the norm. You know, we're both on staff, paid by a church, at a Bible college. I mean, we shouldn't be having these problems. You know, what's wrong with us?
Yeah, divorce sucks. Yeah, divorce, my son will have to deal with a lot of stuff, but it's got to be better than this.
The scholars that have looked at the fallout from divorce, what they have seen in children of divorce, the lightning strike that came into those children's lives was not the disunity between the parents or the fighting that the parents were caught up in. It was the presentation of the divorce, the announcement that your father and I, your mother and I are divorcing. It was at that point that so many of these children stated that my childhood ended on that day.
Communication was horrible. I mean, we didn't know how to fight fair, and we had a huge financial just crisis, going through bankruptcy, having, you know, people have money too. You just feel like a failure.
I think there was parts of me that didn't want to admit it, but I was bitter and resentful at Avon for not taking care of things better, for taking too many risks, and everything that I said was somehow, you know, felt like I was making him less of a man. It was the time where we most needed to share our feelings and most needed to connect and most needed to communicate. It just wasn't there. He didn't know how, and I didn't know how to draw it out of him. And it seemed like the harder I tried, the worse it got. And so, it was hard. It was very hard.
The principles we say we believe in, the principles of love, patience, kindness, forgiveness, long-suffering, which means suffering for a long time. These principles are so life-changing. They're so powerful. All you need to do is get any two people in the world who live by these principles, and you can succeed.
Why is it so hard to admit that my marriage has problems? And it was just really being honest that, you know what, we have issues and we need help. This counselor just really honed in 15, 20 minutes of what really some root issues were in me. I mean, all I had to do is, he just said, basically just start talking about your marriage, and I just started talking, and it's like, you know, what do you mean? And he just started just destroying me, you know? And it was good, it's what I needed.
I'm so glad we stuck this out. Not only is this an example to our son, but this is an example to others. It is absolutely worth it to go and seek help. So what if there's a little bit of embarrassment? So what if you're brought to your knees, so to speak, and you're humbled a little bit?
Knowing that my son, 24 hours a day, looks at what I do, what I say, the decisions I make, and it makes me say, I better make the decision based on what God wants me to do and not just what makes me feel happy.
I'm the happiest I've ever been. I'm the most fulfilled I've ever been. I'm so thankful. I'm just so thankful to God for preserving our marriage.